On third reading and final passage, Assembly Bill 1329, sponsored by Majority Leader Greenwald and Assembly Persons Keanu, Coutinho, Eustace, Johnson, and J.C. Reduces maximum capacity of ammunition magazines to 10 rounds.
Assemblyman Greenwald.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to acknowledge, first of all, that today you and I were handed from a remarkable group of women leading the Million Moms March a list of names signified by an online petition over the course of a few short months. They acquired in this state alone close to 24,000 online signatures asking us to take the actions that we are about to take here today. They should be applauded and congratulated for their efforts in recognizing the work that they have done. The reality is today that the work that we are trying to do is an effort to be comprehensive. It is an effort not only to be comprehensive, but also to strike the very needed balance between protecting the beautiful document that is our Constitution and the amendments that it holds. Clearly that of the Second Amendment, and that which we participate in today, the most cherished amendment recognized by its status as the First Amendment, freedom of speech. Our ability to have this debate, that which was represented by our brave veteran here today, who we honored so bravely and stood to recognize, is the balance that he fought for to make sure that we achieve this goal. This bill that we are about to talk about now is a bill that would prohibit high-capacity magazines, limiting currently that magazine size to 10 rounds. In New Jersey, it stands at 15. There would be exemptions for current retired law enforcement officers. The reasonable limit is the same size as the limit that was imposed by the federal assault weapons ban proposed by President Clinton and enacted in 1994. The Washington Post tracked data from the state of Virginia involving police seizures of high-capacity magazines both during and after the federal ban, and the data showed a steady decline in the number of high-capacity magazines recovered as a percentage of all weapons recovered, dropping to a low of 9% in 2004. However, once that ban expired, not coincidentally, we saw the rate of those magazines again begin to increase. Many people have asked over the course of the last few months as we've discussed this legislation, what is the difference between 15 and 10? Ladies and gentlemen, I go back to the horrific tragedy in Arizona and the shooting of Congresswoman Gifford. And there was a young girl there at the age of 9 years old who loved politics and loved the Congresswoman. And she had her entire life in front of her. And she went to go to that day to the town hall meeting or a town greeting in front of a supermarket that so many of us have had in our districts with constituents. She was so proud to be there. She actually had ties to those of us here in New Jersey. Her grandfather was the former manager of the Philadelphia Phillies in 1980 when they won the World Series, still involved with the Philadelphia Phillies organization. I didn't connect the relationship until during the summer after the tragedy. I saw the former manager, Dallas Green, on Comcast News talking before one of the games, and he talked as a member of the NRA, someone who is a gun owner. And he talked about the balance that is needed in protecting that Second Amendment right that he cherishes, along with the rights of protecting people like his granddaughter. The difference, Madam Speaker, between a magazine of 15 and 10 is that that young girl, 9 years old, was killed with the 13th bullet in that chamber. If you ask what is the difference between 10 and 15, the difference is the opportunity that the brave men and women had at that site that day when the shooter went to reload his magazine and fumbled the magazine, and they were able to interact. The difference between 10 and 15 could be anyone. On that day, it was a 9-year-old little girl. Hopefully today, we will solve that problem going forward. Madam Speaker, I move the bill.
Thank you, Assemblyman. Assemblywoman Hanlon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, on the bill. Everyone here wants to prevent human beings from turning into murderous monsters. At the same time, each and every one of us has signed an oath swearing to preserve the constitutional rights of law-abiding citizens. I agree with the majority that we need to take steps that will effectively protect our citizens, which is why I have voted for certain of the majority's proposals. But I cannot support policies that will restrict the rights and constrain the lawful activities of fellow citizens while doing very little, if anything at all, to prevent violent crime. This bill will not stop a lunatic intent on a killing spree. The lunatic will get access to large capacity magazines no matter what we do, from other lunatics, from other states, from the internet. This bill would simply reduce the good guy's ability to fight back and protect himself and other innocent people. We don't need to pile more laws on top of what are already some of the toughest in America just to make ourselves feel better about national tragedies. We need to pass smarter laws that stay ahead of the bad guys. If we simply reduce the number of rounds assailants can possess, they are guaranteed to find increasingly creative ways around the ban. I've already mentioned the ways that we're all familiar with. Here's one that you may be unfamiliar with. As far-fetched as it sounds, criminals who want a particular type of magazine will soon be able to print it out on their computers. No, that's not science fiction. It's not some futuristic fantasy. It's current reality, documented in the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal and other very reputable sources that I would be glad to share with anyone. At the touch of a button, three-dimensional printers now enable people to create magazines, indeed working weapons made of plastic and other functional materials. No background checks, no age limits, no registry, no concern for anything that we do in this chamber. In case you're wondering, the reason you probably haven't seen a 3D printer is that up till now they've been very expensive. But the price is declining rapidly and is projected to drop to $500 soon. Not much more than the price of some iPads and tablets. Now ask yourselves, what do we accomplish by enacting a new law that is obsolete before we even vote on it? Is it right to tell the public that we're protecting them when all we're doing is exposing our own naivete? In a world of wiki weapons, which is literally what they're called, laws like this one are not only ineffective, they are totally unenforceable unless we want to post a police officer in every citizen's basement. Short of that, the criminals will laugh at us while they download whatever size magazine they want. We all want a safer New Jersey. Let's get beyond what feels good and what sounds good and focus on what would really work, such as better treatment for the mentally ill who could be healed if we would put our efforts toward finding ways to help them. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Hanlon.